This podcast is supported by 23andMe.ca, a personalized genetic service available in Canada. 23andMe reports provide genetic information based on a small saliva sample. Canadians can learn about their genetic information that published studies have associated with conditions and traits like celiac disease, cystic fibrosis, and even response to certain medications. More information is available at 23andme.ca.
Welcome to the BS Show. Are you ready to shoot the... The BS Show would like to thank their sponsors. Jack Cameron, accredited mortgage professional. Jack can show you the way home. Graco Impact Sports, providing top quality combat sport equipment tested and used by all levels of athletes. Dominate your world. RepoSales.ca, specializing in vehicle and equipment recovery, liquidation, and sales. Hemmings House Pictures, the global movement media makers, helping tell your brand story to the world and accelerate the momentum of your movement. Farmbox Films, capturing stories the way you want to remember them.
Source of combat sports news in Atlantic Canada. Skippy, I just heard a beep. Have I been talking into a muted microphone up to now? We don't know. I am your host, Boyd Sharpe.
Sorry.
In the booth. In the booth,
You're
as
live.
always, Mr. Skippy Cohen. We are live. Was I live for my intro?
You got about 80% of it. I hit stop, and I went and lit a cigarette. I'm like, why is Boyd being so quiet?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, there you go. Let's kick this off again. Greetings, fellow humans. Welcome to the BS Show, the one and only source of combat sports news in Atlantic Canada. I am your host, Boyd Sharpe. In the booth, fucking things up tonight, is Mr. Skippy Cohen, and as always, my partner in crime, Rick Doyle. Rick, how are we this evening?
Happy 420, my short-peckered friend, and if you two miles done screwing this show around, let's get things to roll here.
I had the esteemed pleasure this evening of running into one Mr. Cat Clark, the organizer for Submission Series 902 that we're going to be talking about most of this evening. He was at Titans dropping off some tickets and, like any promoter should do, taking care of his fighters. I think there's 4 fighters maybe out of Titans that he has on that Submission Series card. So it was good to have a face to put with the name, and he's looking pretty tired, man. You know what it's like promoting these events.
So what's the word from him at this point? I mean, how is everything progressing?
Well, I did hear today that they kind of reconfigured the seating a little bit, and they were able to release 6 more VIP seats. And I think there's a handful of general admission tickets left as well, but only a handful. So if you're anywhere in the Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI area, and you had planned on going to the Submission Series event in New Glasgow, you'd best be getting on the Facebook page and letting Kat know that you want a ticket, because they're pretty much a lock.
This is pretty exciting stuff, Boyd. Number one, this is the first time we've ever had an event like this in this area. I think it's great for the competitors. I think it's great for the fans. I think it's great for the general public. And I'm glad to see this kind of response. Mixed martial arts gets so much emphasis. And when you look at the amount of people that actually train for mixed martial arts, it's minuscule compared to the amount of people that are training at BJJ in this area. So I think it's a great exposure for them in their sport.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, Rick. I had that conversation with somebody today, and we were talking about that very same thing. I mean, mixed martial arts, along with wrestling, is probably the toughest athletic training that you can possibly do. So a very, very, very small number of people do it. As Peter Martell famously said on Cubicle to the Cage, I mean, you're not going to walk down on any street corner, turn your head, and see a professional fighter. What you will see on any street corner is somebody who trains martial arts, whether that be judo or karate or taekwondo or BJJ or Japanese jiu-jitsu. So there's tons and tons and tons of those guys out there, and you're right. They never have really gotten this kind of recognition for the sport that they participate in or the martial art that they participate in. So for Kat to be able to put these guys on not only a stage here in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, but also through Skippy and Carl and the guys at Madhouse and the Global Combat Network, they're going to be seen all around the world. It's super to see.
Yeah, and it's going to give the athletes in this area an opportunity to really showcase what they have. It's pretty exciting stuff. I know we're going to concentrate a lot tonight on this tournament and giving it the exposure that it does, deserve. And then we've got another big event right around the corner as soon as this is over that will probably lead into next week, and that would be the upcoming ECC event.
Yeah, absolutely. That event is shaping up to be, on paper at least, one of the best cards that we've had in Nova Scotia for a very, very, very long time. As you know, fights fall apart and matchups are not always easy to make, but I mean the names that are being thrown around, it's just super. We announced last week, obviously, Richard Arsenal versus Matt McGrath is probably the top matchup of two local maritime fighters that you could even make. I mean, you're not going to find two guys who have the records that they have, B, the bad blood because they have fought before. Richard claims he took a very short notice fight, and he says he can knock Matt out, and he says he would have if he would have had a real training camp the last time. They represent the only two gyms on the island of PEI, and they're basically not only fighting for a win and for honor of their club. I mean, they're fighting for probably potential members of their gym. So yeah, I mean, it's just a fantastic fight. Ryan Connor is going to be fighting Morgan Ryans. Ryan Connor is basically he's a training partner of Chris Kalides, who just made the big jump into the UFC when the UFC was here. And Ryan is, of course, running on the steam of that big win by Chris, and he's looking to take the next step in his career. And Morgan Rhymes trains over in PEI with Matt McGrath and Jason Sago and those guys. He had a loss in his last fight. It was a big shock to a lot of people, including himself, and he's really, really hungry to get back in there and get a win. So that's going to be a fantastic fight too.
Yeah, we'll concentrate on that next week, but you and I are extremely excited about it, as are the fans and the fighters about this upcoming card. But we don't want to get too much off track tonight because this event's right in front of us. I mean, folks, I think we're looking at world-class competition here. I really do.
Yeah,
hey, Rick,
absolutely.
Boyd, hey, let me jump in real quick. I know you guys got a lot to talk about tonight, but I'd like you guys to take a quick second and talk about something that brought us together, and that's Pupil to the Cage and the great award that they've been nominated for, the Gemini up there in Canada. Folks in America and the rest of the world, it's kind of like the Golden Globes that we hold here in the United States. Will you touch on that real quick for me, one of you two?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Skip. I appreciate that. You've heard us talk about Andrew McCormick and the guys at Hemmings House Pictures and how much respect we have for the work that those guys did and how proud we were of the MMA story that they told that Rick and I were involved with. And sort of as a testament to the faith that we had in Andrew and the Hemmings House group, Cubicle to the Cage has been nominated for a Gemini for Best Editing in a Factual Drama. And Andrew McCormick himself was nominated as editor. So, yeah, we couldn't be more proud of him. I mean, that was just such a fantastic project, Rick?
It sure was, and I mean, my hat's off to those guys. They kept that story as real and as true as they possibly could. And you and I were both involved, obviously, in that project. Some other guy, I can't really remember his name, calculators. The three of us ended up creating a great bond off that experience. And a lot of times when that show was going on and you watched it, there was a lot of things that you could see about yourself that you weren't really proud of or that type of thing. But kudos to those guys for giving the real story. I mean, they kept it real, they kept it true, and I was the proudest moment of my life to be part of that project, quite honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've gotten a lot of positive comments from the general public, but what means even more to me is we've gotten positive comments from fighters like Richard Arsenal, who reached out to me back when the show was airing, saying that he was so proud that we did tell an honest story and we didn't fudge anything, and we tried to show the life that fighters have to live if they want to compete in this sport. So that means an awful lot to us. And again, kudos out to Andrew McCormick, just absolutely fantastic guy and supremely talented filmmaker. So super good stuff.
We'll have to follow that story, and thanks, Skip, for bringing that up. That was really nice of you. I mean, it did bring us together as well, and this is just our opportunity here to give back to a community that that didn't shit on a project. You know, they didn't shit on the experiment. They took us in and let us do our thing and respected what we were trying to do. And that's why Boyd and I have the BS show, or Boyd has, he just has me tagging along, to try to give something back to those people that did help us. We did appreciate it, and still do.
Skippy, I want to tease one more thing to you before we bring in our first guest, and that is we do have a little bit of Cubicle to the Cage news coming up very soon, and I can't give you any specifics, but I can say that the song Coming to America comes to mind. So hopefully I'll be able to give you some specifics about that very soon.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Our first guest tonight is the main event headliner for Submission Series 902, Mr. Kyle Sanford. Kyle, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Long time no see.
Yes, long time.
And I only say that because I did run into Kyle this afternoon when he was in training at Titans MMA and Taylor BJJ. Kyle, I know that you were on the show with Skippy a few weeks back. We have a slightly different audience because we're focused mainly on Atlantic Canadian and Maritime MMA. So can you please give us a little bit on your background, how you got into, martial arts, and then how you found yourself grappling and getting into BJJ?
Yeah, I can do that. I started. I met Kevin Taylor actually. When I was in Taekwondo. He was a Taekwondo instructor. Some people don't know that, but he has I think it's a second or third dan in black belt Taekwondo. So I was doing that when I was in high school, and I wasn't very good at it. I was kind of at that awkward, not grown into my body yet age, and I was doing that for a few years, and just had a friend. I took a friend, took a friend to Taekwondo, and he was pretty competitive, and he wanted to spar all the time, and I was a little better than him. And then one day we started grappling because he wanted to grapple with me, and because he thought he would have an edge there, and I thought, and I was pretty good at it still. I thought, it just was probably my first time wrestling, and I thought, I kind of like this. It's more natural for me. And we used to go to Dalplex. We used to go to the university to Dalhousie, Dalplex, and we'd go on the wrestling mats, the field house. And then one day we were there, and we used to just go, a bunch of us who just didn't know what we were doing, and we'd just grapple till somebody gave up. And sometimes it would be an hour, sometimes it would be 45 minutes, it would be whatever. And one day I was in there, and I ran, and Kevin's in there. I ran into him, and I said, hey, I know you from Taekwondo. And he says, yeah, I'm getting out of that, because he'd been doing it his whole life. And he said, my hips are shot, and I got to stop kicking. And this is where it's at, this jiu-jitsu stuff. And this was like mid-90s. This was 95, 96. And he said, yeah, this is, I got the Gracie. I think he had the hoist tapes, and he was like, yeah, I got the Gracie.
The old VHS?
Yeah, the VHS. He's like, yeah, I got the Gracie in action. And they came with the inactions, but he had got the hoist basics, and I got Henzo tapes, and yeah, I think he might have already been down to Henzo's once when I met him, and he said, yeah, we're training here. We try to get in here once a week or twice a week or whatever. And he's like, I got mats in my basement, and I mean that's the story of probably a lot of guys in Canada at that time, because we wanted to do it, but there was no access. It was just if you happen to know somebody who had some tapes or had the money to buy the tapes that were really expensive back then, you could get together and try to figure stuff out on your own, but there was no real instruction.
Yeah, I mean, it was very different than the world we're in now, where you live in Halifax. You have 5 BJJ clubs to pick from. You can download instructions off the internet or YouTube and all that stuff.
Yeah. And
you guys were just figuring it out as you went. Pioneers type thing.
Like it's funny because I was going through some old stuff the other day, and I found a file folder that just said grappling, and it's so funny because I opened it up and it was like clippings from magazines, like detailing submissions, like from 95, 96, 97, like into probably up to 88, or probably up to 1999. I think there was a couple in there. And I just looked at them and it's like, oh yeah, these were some of my go-to moves. Like they were just, and that's all we had. And I mean, just even the internet, like the internet back then was just nothing like it is now. Like you just didn't have, you couldn't just get on and look something up. It was. Now you can get by without buying anything if you don't really want to. I mean, you can just. There's so much on YouTube. There's enough on YouTube to keep you busy. But anyway,
so
we started training.
Did you jump right in? Did you jump right in with Peter and Kevin back in the day and actually start going down to Henzo's yourself, or did you just train here?
With them. Like we kind of, it was kind of interesting happening because Peter was training in Dartmouth. Peter was training with a couple guys, so there was kind of 2 groups of us that came together pretty quick because it was such a small community back then. So Peter was training with a couple guys. I think it was Vern and Steve, a couple guys that he trained with for a long time, and then Kevin knew of him. And he's like, oh yeah, this guy's been training in Dartmouth, and he knew him. I forget how he knew him, probably from downtown. Who knows? And we kind of got together. We kind of merged straight away. I mean, there was only like 6 of us, so there was hardly any of us that trained, and we got together, and Peter had his guys that he was training with for a while, and then like I said, Kevin had already been down to Henzo, so I went down to Henzo's for the first time in '96, and I had only been training for maybe 6 months, and like I said,
what was that like?
It was pretty crazy. Like I think I mentioned it on the show last time, like how we went down there, and Matt Serra was a purple belt, and Nick might have still only been a blue. I can't remember if Nick. No, I think Nick was a purple too. But Matt
was that Nick Serra?
Matt and Nick were training at and Henzo had a different, I forget the location, but it was a different location. It was a little seedier neighborhood, and there wasn't the class size, and he was still with Craig Kukuk back then, and we went in. I remember because it was Nick and Matt, and they were like the best guys, and then there was Vinny. I can't remember his last name, but he was a big Brazilian. He was a brown belt. And him and Matt used to have these amazing rolls, and he was way bigger than Matt. And I just remember being there, and until we were there, we didn't really, until I went on that trip, I didn't realize that for us it was always like we knew a couple things from guard. Like we knew, like I think you could, all I ever did from guard basically was guillotine, and then try to reverse the guy, and maybe I think an arm triangle. And I didn't realize until I got down there that you could armbar a guy from your back. I remember, like
probably the first thing you would learn in a BJJ class now.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it seems ridiculous now, but back then it was like for us, because we were, like I said, we were just trying to just scrape together whatever we could. And I just remember, Matt kind of basically rolling with Matt there, and he just like pull guard and just so relaxed. And then I was like, oh, I'm on top here, I'm going to try to pass. And then all of a sudden you're, in a half a second you're armbarred. And I was like, what's going on here? I'm like,
I don't know what's going on here. I just texted our producer to find out what's going on, but it sounded like we were getting some kind of weird crosstalk.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, he seems to have it straightened out now.
Does he? Okay, cool.
Cool. So that was the mid '90s. I mean, you got an awful lot of training under your belt since then. When did you get your black belt?
I just got my black belt. I just got my black belt in July. Actually, I was down there for the New York Open, and finally hooked up with Henzo. He had that habit of not being around when I was there. My last couple of visits, but yeah, I just got it in July. I mean, it's a long road, and it's not like I've been training. I started back then, but it's, there's a lot of, me and Kevin always tell people that we spent a lot of time basically doing things wrong at the beginning, and I mean, now everyone has the benefit of all our mistakes and all everyone's mistakes basically for that long. But I've had lots of time off. I had a couple knee surgeries and concentrated on MMA for a while, and all kinds of other excuses. But yeah, it shouldn't take that long. But I was pretty patient about it. I knew like when I had time off, I knew it's gonna be a while, gonna get back at it, and it all came together eventually. But
there was a couple of things I wanted to point out there. Number one is you mentioned just briefly in passing your MMA career, but I mean your very first fight was against a guy that anybody who knows anything about MMA will know, Jeff Joslin. You lost your first fight, and then you went undefeated for, what was it, 7 fights in a row?
Yeah, 7 fights. They were pretty spread out. I had 4 in Montreal. I had actually. Norm, buddy of mine from the gym, he pointed out to me, I made a joke the other day about how long it's been since I fought MMA, because it's been a while, and he said your first fight, I think he said my first fight was like 2002, and which I didn't realize, it's been a long time. And then he said you fought 5 times in 15 months. And I said, oh, that's pretty active. he said, yeah, I mean, that's, that is really active. I just wanted to go and all my fights were, I mean, after the loss, all my fights were pretty clean. Like I had, I didn't get injured. They were all pretty well first round submissions in a couple minutes. And then,
your last opponent, Joey Grzinski, I mean, you're talking about a guy that has 18 fights. So was it just family and a couple of injuries that kind of got in the way from you steamrolling on with your MMA career? Yeah,
just some injuries, but kind of both. I mean, it's a big, to me, it's a big commitment, and I mean that fight I wasn't happy with it. I kind of stole that fight in the last 30 seconds. I really didn't want to go out like that. But then I was trying to line another one up, and then I had a couple things fall through kind of when I started training, and then I had a couple injuries, and then I just kind of got, I just got turned off it for a bit. I was like, you start to kind of get committed, and then you start to get something lined up, and then something happens, and
right.
And it's just, it doesn't, you just kind of, when you start to have a family and you start to have things happening, and you have to sacrifice that stuff, and then the fight doesn't happen, and I mean, it's not like you're making any money, so it's hard to, I mean, I really do want to have a couple more MMA fights, but while my body's still holding together, so we'll see.
Well, as far as your ground game goes, you're certainly staying active at the highest possible levels. I mean, you're attending really high profile IBJJ tournaments, and now you got this submission series against Jonathan Sateva. Tell us how that all came together.
It just actually, I just got a call from wasn't the promoter directly, but I just got a call from someone else also trains at him. Actually, Mike Kitson called me, who trains with us, and he's friends with the promoter there, friends with Kat, and he said, "What do you think about doing this? What do you think about this doing this fight with doing this match with Jonathan Sateva?" And I said, well, I didn't really know much about him. I mean, I didn't really research him at all or anything. And I said, I've heard the name before. And then he said, oh yeah, and he started telling me about him. And I said, yeah. I said, you know what? Sounds great. I mean, it was, for me, it was good. It was kind of something to give me a good kick in the ass. Just get me motivated and get me in the gym and get back in shape, and it's great for me because I love that's my base really. I mean, I got into MMA kind of after jiu-jitsu. I kind of got the opportunity to do it, but I didn't start doing jiu-jitsu to do MMA. I just started doing jiu-jitsu because I love it, and for me, the submission only for me is it's just kind of it's the roots, it's right back to basics, because that's how we started. We started just submission only. We would just have matches until somebody gave up. So
on the Delplex wrestling match.
Like for me, it's kind of like, it's almost like it's come full circle. That's how we started. We used to do it in, we used to, like lots of guys, we used to do it in our backyard. Wherever we had a space, it's like, oh, look, big wide open patch of grass. And we would just, we just have matches until somebody gave up. And didn't have a clue what we were doing, but that's just how we learned. And then, the next time somebody looked something up in a magazine, and we had a new submission. So
I don't think I've been in the gym. I don't think I've dropped my Titans once in the past couple of months when you weren't either coming in or going out of the gym. So you're obviously taking this extremely seriously. Have you done any research on Jonathan since that original sort of offer was made, and were you preparing for him in any particular way, or are you just kind of doing your own thing?
I have done some. I've had more. I find that everyone around me does a lot of research, so I've got kind of go in and got people telling me, oh yeah, he does a lot. It's not like his game is any secret. His style is any secret. Any video you watch on him, any interview, they just talk about how he's Marcelo's got Marcelo's style, and everyone knows Marcelo's style. So it's just a matter. Everyone's going, he's going to do a lot of this, and he's going to, it's all like a lot of X guard and a lot of 2-on-1s and a lot of one-legged X and a lot of this and that. I got lots. Every time I go to the gym, everyone knows what he does, so they're trying to kind of mimic his style. But the problem too is that not a lot of the guys at our gym really mimic his style. Probably the best guy I could have been training with is Jarrett McIntosh, but he's in, like you said, he's in New Glasgow, so I haven't really been able to hook up with him. But
well, I have one more question, but before I get to it, I'm going to invite Rick to jump in here for a minute, because Rick, my co-host Rick Doyle, is ridiculously excited for this event. So I want to give him an opportunity to ask you at least one question. I think it was his phone that was having the issue a few minutes ago.
Was it
jump
my
on in,
phone?
Rick. I thought it was.
Kyle.
Yeah, jump on in, bud.
Kyle, thanks so much for coming on this show. It's a real pleasure to have you here, bud. Kyle, you're one of those guys that when you talk to anybody involved in BJJ, they all know your name. You're one of the pioneers of the sport in this area, and I just love it when I hear you talking about pulling out the mats in somebody's basement and watching the videotapes. It just brings into focus the tools that you guys had to work with at that time and how far you progressed it. And it's an honor to hear you talk. Now, this tournament that we're looking at, this is exciting stuff. Kyle, you've been around. You're 38 years old now. You've had a number of MMA fights. You've competed in BJJ internationally. You name it, you've been there for it. And at 38, you're still competing at the highest level. It's got to be exciting for you. This event here, how excited are you of what this could potentially turn into?
I'm extremely excited, actually. It's almost. First of all, thanks for all the kind words, but I'm. I didn't turn it down. I didn't even say turn it down. I didn't even hesitate for a second. When he told me about it, because I know that there's never been something like this in Canada. I know this is the first time they've had invitationals in Canada. They've had fight cards, but or jiu-jitsu matchups, but for the submission only, it's it's the first time, and it's really really cool to be part of it. And I really am honored to be the main event, because I feel like I was there. I was here in the beginning, and I've had lots of lapses in training, I guess, but just to kind of to get these guys on the card, and not just me, but these guys, the guys from the gym that are up and coming, that you're just more impressed with them every day. That are just, they have this drive, and they're, you know, it just, they want to grow the sport, and they want to get lots more guys in the gym, and they want to compete, and they want to get out to these tournaments, and they're constantly improving, and they're, you know, you see them in there. You know, they're just, every time there's a new technique out there, they're in there practicing it, practicing counters to it, and I just think this event's going to be, you know, it's going to be huge. It's going to be really good for the sport in the Maritimes in Canada, and it's going to get more guys. You know, it gives guys a goal, because these guys are all competitive, and you can train all day. You know, you can train all day every day in jiu-jitsu, but you know, when you're competitive, you got to have a goal. You got to have somewhere to test it, and these cards are really gonna do that. They're gonna get all the guys from the gyms, from all the local gyms and gyms in the Maritimes and all across Canada, really, just to you know, have a goal to try to get on these cards and test himself against another top guy from another part of North America and see what they have. You know,
I love it, brother. And you know, when I heard that you were picked as the main event, I was the same as everybody involved in any combat sports province. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Kyle Sanford should be the main event, be the guy to do that. So, congratulations. Yeah. If this takes off like I think it's going to take off, there'd be nobody better to be representing the first main event for this type of competition than you. Before I hand you back to Boyd, I just want to ask you a question. I know we've touched on this before. You did go up just about a year ago to try out for the Ultimate Fighter. Can you just touch on that just briefly for anyone that doesn't know exactly what happened there?
Yeah, there's some stuff. I mean, I guess there's some stuff I can say, some stuff I'm not supposed to say. There's lots of non-disclosure agreements you sign when you're up there. So there's not a lot. There's people that know, like people that I was that were directly involved in it. I can say that it went well. I mean, it was a good experience. I was there. You know, I was there for a few days, so you can kind of read into that a little bit. But overall, a great experience for you, Kyle. It was overall a great experience. It was, you know, it was great to. It was good. It was good FaceTiming. It was great to kind of. I'd been to a few of them before, and in the States, and at least two of them, and I was, you know, you kind of get frustrated going there, but because they generally had their picks already made. The one in Toronto was actually it was really well put together, and it really made everyone feel like they had a chance. It wasn't as predetermined, and it was a good experience. I enjoyed it. Felt I performed well and did well. Yeah.
I'm going to jump in, Rick. We have another guest in the queue, but I did want to get Kyle to answer one more question. And I think we maybe touched on this a little bit already in the interview, but this fight between you and Jonathan Satava really is a very clear style versus style of fight. I mean, everyone knows he's a Marcelo Garcia guy. He's going to be doing X-Guard. He's going to be doing all kinds of what they call, I guess, new jiu-jitsu. And you're a guy who has been drilling the basics of jiu-jitsu for pushing 2 decades. So it's really sort of an old-style Gracie jiu-jitsu against the new sort of flashier, I don't know what you call it, creative jiu-jitsu. How do you think that's going to play out? Is that something that you've considered, or are you just going to play your own game and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I do consider that. I mean, it's there's lots of things that are. I mean, when I took the match, I didn't realize how you know. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's 25. I mean, he's quite a bit younger than me. He's training twice a day and teaching classes. He's doing it full time. But that
and known as a phenom.
And known as a phenom. Oh yeah, totally. And I was like, the other day I said, well, you know, the only, everyone said, do you have any pressure? I said, well, I guess the only little bit of pressure is that, you know, is that he's a brown belt, I'm a black belt. Now he's a black belt, so now there's absolutely no pressure on me at all. So, he got his black belt the other day, but no, I don't. I find it so much different than like match. When I even thinking about it, even stressing about it, like compared to MMA, like it's like he said in his videos, and I've said in interviews. He's like you said exactly. He's got his style. He's not going to change his style. I mean, Marcelo's got a proven style. I mean, he's look at the championships he's won, the ADCCs he's won, and against bigger guys and absolutes and everything else. Like he's got a great style, and especially for no gi, which is what I agreed to. So I mean, he's not going to change his game. I'm not going to be able to change my game. I mean, I try in class, and I just end up going back to my to my go-tos. So it's going to be good. I think it'll be a good matchup. I mean,
it's definitely going to be a good
I doubt
matchup.
he's going to research. I doubt he's going to research. There's not much to research on me. I mean, I doubt he's going to worry about what I'm going to do. He's just going to try to play his game, and then I'm going to do the same. And
I'm going to keep my cards close to my chest and not give away anything about you either. But I do know that Kevin Taylor and Peter Martel and a number of the guys who have very dark-colored belts around the Titans place say that there are a few things in BJJ that you do probably better than anybody else that they have ever encountered on a mat. So I'm super excited to see if we get to see that against Jonathan on Friday night. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Kyle. I'm going to let you go, get back to your family, get some rest, and prepare for Friday.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Kyle, before you go, Kyle, did you have a shout-out for any sponsors there that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't really have I don't have a lot of sponsors, but I did get a sponsor there from some help from BC Kimonos. Sent us some gear. Me and Joel actually, and give Brett a big shout out for that. That was pretty cool. I'll be sporting that gear at the event, and that's pretty quick sponsor shout out because I only have one. So
hopefully the next time you'll have a list.
I'll give one more quick one. I almost forgot is the physio. I got a physio sponsor, and that's Kelly Whitman at Revive Physiotherapy and Pilates. She's been kind of holding my body together, so that's actually a pretty important one because it's pretty important at my age. So.
Well, thanks a lot, man. Hopefully next time we have you on the show, you'll have a list of sponsors so long that we'll have to carve out an extra 5 minutes for you at the end, because that's one of the things that Rick and I are trying to do is to get some support for local athletes that are having to go outside the Maritimes when they want to compete. So.
Yep, that'd be great. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Take care. We'll see you on Friday.
Okay. You too. Thanks. See ya.
Cheers, mate.
That guy has so many stories. We probably should have just done like a Kyle Sanford night.
Yeah, absolutely. You take a guy like that with all the history starting from when there was nothing here, it's great to hear him talk. You got to remember, Boyd, let these guys talk about their sponsors.
Yeah, man. Rick, thank you for that. You do catch me on that every single time, and thank you, and keep doing it, because that is really, really, really important. And I forget it every damn time. I'll try to do a better job with that for sure, because it's important that these guys are able to thank their sponsors and pick up more sponsors.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk to Kat too, because maybe we can do something like we did at the last event, where they get to thank their sponsors in the ring. I think that's a good idea. Plus, I looked good doing it too, didn't I?
Yeah, maybe it didn't sound good, but you did look good. Our next guest is in the queue. He is I think they're calling it a super fight. Last added match on the card. We got a John versus John Williams versus John Foster. And believe it or not, this guy is a professional mixed martial artist. This guy is fighting in a super fight at Submission Series 902, and he texted me a short while ago to say he was very nervous about tonight's interview. Rick, I think he might have a little bit of a crush on you or something. You there, John?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
I also heard a rumor that you're at your work party right now.
Yes, I am.
Well, thanks for carving out a couple of minutes to talk to us. How did this fight come together? Well, first of all, let's take a step back and tell folks where you train, what your belt level is, and any combat sports, whether it be BJJ or MMA experience that you have.
Okay, well, I'm a brown belt under Fabio Holanda, He runs Brazilian Top Team Canada. And I train at a Synergy Training Center under Dana Dickinson. I have a background in judo, and I did a little bit of wrestling when I was in high school. And how I got notice of this fight, my instructor Dana had a match against Scott Noss, but he had to pull out because he injured himself while training at the judo club. And Mr. Clark messaged me and asked if I wanted to fight John Foster, and I was begging him to get on the card beforehand, and he told me he was going to get me on the next card, but the opportunity came up, so took the fight.
What made you want to be on this card so much? You say you were begging him to get on the card even before you were offered the Foster fight?
Yeah, well, I actually retired from MMA this summer, and I was telling all the people at my club that I think what my sport would be no-gi submission only, because that's really my style in the gym. Like, I teach no-gi every Tuesday, and I'm always hunting for the submission. And yeah, I just thought that, like, I was waiting for a card like this to happen, and I saw the Facebook page, and I messaged the promoter and kept on begging him, and he said he put me on the injury list, like if somebody got injured, and Dana got injured. I mean, it's unfortunate for Dana, but I'm kind of happy at the same time.
Listen, if you want to compete and you want to fight that bad, and you're saying you're going for the kill, you're going for the submission in the gym all the time, I got a funny feeling Rick Doyle wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely, I sure do. And John, don't feel bad, man, if you got a bit of a crush on me. You're only human, brother.
Well, you're a handsome man.
I keep telling myself that every day. Thanks very much for coming on the show, my man. It's a pleasure to have you on here. You know, you've got a tremendous reputation out there, a lot of respect. Everybody's excited over this fight. What have you done special in order to train for this that you wouldn't, maybe something that you've trained a little differently for this type of competition?
Well, I actually kind of like took away strength and conditioning, and like really just like I do hill sprints and stuff, but I'm really just focusing on jiu-jitsu and like just my technique and trying to improve my technique every day. Like on my days off, I'm training twice a day doing jiu-jitsu. I'm always on the mats, and it's an art that I'm like totally passionate about. Like I live and breathe it. Like it's my life, and it's all that I think about, talk about, dream about. In my dreams, I'm like putting people in submission holds. Like I just love it.
I got a big smile on my face here, Rick, listening to this. This is the kind of athletes that we have around that I think are really going to be able to pave the way and show people that jiu-jitsu, and especially when you can compete at the highest level, is not just a recreation. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living. It's a way of seeing the world. Is that the way that you see it, John?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it's really changed me as a person. Like I was kind of socially awkward growing up, and it really gave me a lot of confidence. I feel like as a person, I actually have like a lot of power, because it's a powerful thing, jiu-jitsu, to be able to manipulate someone's body and be able to do it without using strength, just technique and leverage. Like I'll sometimes we live in like a military town, like we're close to Oromocto, and they have an army base there, and sometimes we get like army meatheads that are like they look like they do steroids, but you know, I roll with them, and I don't look too physically imposing, and I'm able to control them, get on mount, and they can't get me off them, and I submit them, and then they end up not coming back afterwards because they can't really believe that a small guy like myself can do that to someone.
It's funny, we got to spend a little bit of time on this show a while back with one of the guys who trains and teaches at Titans, John Gale, and he said very much the same thing. And he said it really did change his perspective, and it made him a much calmer person and a much more confident person. So it's really super cool to hear you tell such a similar story. Well, John, thanks for taking some time out of your away from your party, and really, really thanks for taking this fight against John Foster. We're super pumped to see it, and we'll be sure to look you up when we get down to New Glasgow on Friday night. Take a minute and give a big shout out to any of your supporters, any of your sponsors, any of your friends and colleagues and coaches and training partners who've helped you out for this one.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to give a shout out to Dana. Thanks for watching over my training camp and giving me the advice to succeed in this match. Also, like to thank John Roscoe with Bomb Energy for sponsoring me for this fight and supporting my caffeine addiction. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Steve Ford, who's fighting on the February card for ECC. It's his first amateur fight, and he's an awesome boxer and a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. So you guys want to keep your eyes out for him. He's going to do well.
He's fighting a guy from Newfoundland and Labrador, is he not?
I'm not sure. I know he trains in PEI with Wolf Run there.
Okay, yeah, right. I got my islands mixed up.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, John. And like I say, best of luck next Friday, and we look forward to seeing you down there.
Okay, thank you. You guys have a good night.
All right, absolutely.
Bye. Cheers.
Hey, Rick, isn't it cool how he had pretty much the same kind of view on jiu-jitsu as John Gale, another guy who's like not a big, scary, imposing guy, but a guy who just realized there's so much power in having that kind of control over yourself and somebody else who wants to engage with you physically.
Well, we've both experienced that for ourselves, and we understand that now. And I'm not a guy that has a great mind for jiu-jitsu, you know that. So it's been a little tough for me to pick up, but I have so much respect for it. And the thing I love about this, these guys are all so competitive. And for the first time, we're giving them a chance, or they're being given a chance to showcase this at the highest possible level. And it's fantastic. I'm so excited. They deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. In queue right now, we have another John who is fighting our previous guest, John. So, John Foster, right off the top, I have an offer for you and John Williams. I think whoever loses the match between you guys on Friday night needs to set their Facebook profile page to the other gym's logo for a week.
Cool.
What do you think?
Yeah, done.
Cool. I'll get in touch with Dina. I'll get in touch with John. We need to make that shit happen. And one of you might have to change your name. I don't know. Only if we're going to have both of you back on the show at the same time.
And the other guy gets to pick the name.
Yeah. How long ago did you get the offer from Kat to take this super fight?
It wasn't that long ago. It might be 3 weeks, 4 at the most. Well, it was right around Christmas. And like John, I was hoping to get on the show. This is really the kind of thing I want to be doing now. The submission-only game lends better to my game as far as jiu-jitsu goes. Not having to worry about the point system and losing a match after attacking the whole time and getting swept or passed for a couple points.
It's funny how many guys.
I think that's where the sport needs. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, it's funny how many guys are saying that. So is that something that you think is kind of always there in the gym, and sort of point-style IBJJ jiu-jitsu has gotten in the way of the sport as it's really practiced in the gym?
I think there's a time and a place for the point system. Don't get me wrong. If you're competing and you're in a 5, 6, or 7 minute match, you need to determine a winner, right? You could have 45-minute matches all day. If it wasn't for the point system, and it's fantastic. In the gym, of course, as you guys know, you guys have a little bit of experience rolling now at this point. There's no points. It's freer. It's not as rigid. You're just going with the flow and hunting for that submission. And it's more enjoyable, it's more exciting, and I mean we have 15 minutes to work, so it's possible. It's fantastic. I think this is where the sport. I think the sport. I mean, it'll continue on with points competitions, no question, and I think this avenue has just tons of growth potential as we're seeing, and I'm excited to do as many of these competitions as I can.
Yeah, Rick keeps bringing up on this show. It's like, this is the beginning. This is not a one-time thing. This is not just some random event. Kat and the guys who are behind this really have a plan for this to be a series that will take place multiple times a year, and people will start to see who are the winners and who are the losers, and then they'll start matchmaking winners from one show against another. I mean, it's super exciting to see what could happen. Now, you're a brown belt. You're a brown belt, the same as John, and you're another guy. I mean, you run a gym, and you're the head trainer at a gym, so you spend an awful lot of time on the mats. But have you changed in the past 2 or 3 weeks from sort of your coach mode to sort of focusing on your self-training mode, or are you just kind of taking care of business same as always?
You know what? I have a little bit. We got some other great instructors at the club. Patrick Bazinet. I've been going in and taking his classes and having him put me through drills and different things. I've been working with Kyle a lot and just taking guys aside after class and running extra drills and techniques and getting more sparring in. So I have shifted the focus to myself a bit. I mean, I'm not taking away from my classes, of course, but I'm going out of my way to make sure I'm getting instruction from other guys, and then I'm getting more sparring and more drills from tough positions and all that. I mean, you have to, right? I mean, if I take John lightly, I'm going to look foolish as far as I'm concerned. I think he's going to bring it, and I know him and Dana and those guys are a good group with a high level of jiu-jitsu and martial arts, of course, and we do too.
You touched right on what I was going to ask. I mean, it's a pretty small community of jiu-jitsu players around here, so you would know a little bit about their team and a little bit about Dana and a little bit about John. Did you know enough that you're able to prepare a game plan for sort of what he does or anything, or are you just focusing on your attacks and your approach?
Yeah, exactly. I'm comfortable wherever it goes. I mean, if we wrestle or if he pulls guard or if I pull guard or whatever, doesn't matter to me. I'm comfortable top, bottom, side, whatever, wherever the match may go. One of the things that intrigued me about the match with John is I've never rolled with him, and I really don't know much about his style at all. He's always been a weight class or two above me in any grappling event or tournament, and if he's competing, maybe I'm running the tournament or I'm reffing. So I don't even know if I've ever seen him roll, to be quite honest. And that's fine with me. I know he's a brown belt. I know he's, a nice dude. Like, I've seen him at different promotions and we say hello. But I've never rolled with him. I have no idea what it's going to feel like when we tangle up and get going. I don't know how strong he is or how fluid he moves. It's a mystery to me, and that's part of what's intriguing. I mean, there's a ton of guys in Atlanta, Canada that I've rolled with at least once. I mean, I've got guests at my gym all the time. We're always open to everybody. I mean, Dana, his coach, did a seminar at my gym in October, and stayed at my house, and we hung out. It was fantastic, right? So yeah,
that's the jiu-jitsu world for you, right?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, we had a guy from Brazil, a brown belt from Brazil, stop in Thursday. I had people in last Thursday, and I love it, man. I travel with work a bit, so I always, try to go out of my way and get at least one day of training in wherever I may be. So get to experience high-level guys all over the planet. And Nova Scotia Jiu-Jitsu, I mean, if I'm rolling with the guys at Titans or if I'm rolling with, with anybody that swings by, DK guys or whatever, it's the same level, man. You go to Florida, you go to Boston, Nova Scotia's right there.
People keep bringing that up, John. We hear that over and over and over.
It's incredible.
The guys who train in the clubs in the Maritimes, and it's probably because of guys like we had on earlier, Kyle Samford, who kind of was part of that first guard to bring grappling and BJJ to Atlantic Canada in the earlier mid-'90s. I mean, the seed got planted pretty damn early, and then there was guys like Patrick and like Rowan Cunningham who kind of were in the next wave that came along. And you're right. You can go around Atlantic Canada and you can train BJJ and then go out into the world and be highly competitive on the world stage. And now we're going to be able to, because of this event, and Skippy and those guys streaming it around the world, show people that. So Rick is right. There's an awful lot to be excited about here. Rick, are you in the queue or are you popped off?
I'm here, Boyd. And
your phone's breaking a little bit, man.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Give it a shot. I won't talk for a minute.
Well, that would be a first, and you're right, Boyd. I usually am right. But, John, thank you very much for coming back on the show. I know you're a big supporter of what we do, and we have the utmost respect for you and what you do down there. Just a quick note, I was down there a few weeks ago. I noticed you had the sign out front. You've always been a big supporter or a big promoter of BJJ with the kids. You've had an excellent children's program there, and I noticed a sign out front about bully-proofing your kids. Come try this class. Congratulations, and what you do down there is a lot of good work. So we really appreciate that. I don't have questions.
Definitely very passionate about the kids program. We've got some great kids, and every now and then we hear a story from a parent, and the kid's confidence level's gone up, or they've dealt with a bully at school in a nonviolent way, and it's fantastic. I mean, that's the kind of things I want to hear, right?
Absolutely, and I won't take too long here because Boyd took up most of the time and asked all the questions. But for you on your training, we heard from Judo John that he was more focused on his technique leading up to this. Is that where your focus has been, or have you put more to your cardio to get through that 15 minutes if necessary, or what have you really focused on?
I've definitely focused on technique. Like I said to Boyd earlier, I was, spent a lot of time working out of tough positions and just rolling more, rolling harder, faster pace. When you're in the gym day to day, you can kind of lay back and go with the flow. But when it comes to competition time, I mean, I've got a gang of probably, 15 or 20 guys that don't compete. I mean, we've got a few guys that compete. I've got a pile of guys that don't compete but are at that level. They could do very well, and they just put me to it, man. I get these guys teaming up on me, and I'm giving a few pounds up to John, so I have a lot of guys around his size that I've been working with and just dealing with that strength and that weight, and dealing with fresh guys every couple minutes for 10 or 15 minutes in a row, just getting the wind up, getting the muscular endurance up, and definitely focusing on keeping my defense tight and looking for attacks, being versatile, working off the feet, all those things. I mean, I don't know. It's the whole gamut, man. I don't focus on just one thing. I'm very open in my jiu-jitsu. I definitely focus more on principles than techniques, I'd say, more on fundamentals. I'm looking for, again, going against the guys, I don't know how much I'll be giving up to them, maybe 20 or 30 pounds. So leverage and space, working on the principles and things like that is what's gonna make me successful. And if I get stuck on bottom, or if he's pushing the pace for too long, it's gonna wear me down, and I'm aware of that. So I've been preparing for all of it. It was a short camp. It was kind of a blessing in that way as well. It's nice to come out on the end injury-free. I feel great. Feel, good rhythm, good flow. Yeah, man, it's fantastic, right? I mean, I've fought a few times with bad injuries, I'm not going to back out, but it's a good feeling to go in feeling this good.
That's
awesome,
great,
man.
Coach. And unfortunately, we got to wrap this up really quick. But Coach, do you have a couple of shout-outs you want to do there very quickly before we let you go?
You know what? I'm really appreciative of Derek or Kat or whatever he's calling himself these days for the opportunity to get on this card. Because like John, I wanted on this one, and I was going to be bumped till June. When the opportunity came up, I didn't care who it was. I was in 100%. Fantastic. He's done just a wonderful job of promoting it and putting it together and setting it all up for the guys competing and the fans as well. from what I understand, there's a BC Kimonos rash guard waiting for me down in New Glasgow. So thank you to them for that. And I'll be rocking that Friday night. And you know what, man? I'm pumped. I want to get in there right now. If John Williams was down the street right now, we could just go to work. I would just love to get it over with. The waiting's what kills me, man. So,
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, we got some MMA coming up in the next couple of months here in Nova Scotia and again in New Brunswick. So I got a funny feeling there'll be some guys out of the valley coming up here to fight. So we'll get you back on to find out a little bit more about what's going on in your gym and what fighters you have.
I got to fight for Rick,
MMA.
man, if he'll take it.
We'll see.
Rick, you still there?
Yeah.
Rick knows he wants a fight. I got to fight for him. I got a good guy. Perfect fight. We'll talk about it.
We'll see. I'll take him out for coffee and find out what's what.
Yeah, man, it's a perfect matchup. Two good guys around the same age. Couldn't be better, man. And you're 29, right, Rick?
Yeah. 29 going on 60.
Thanks a lot, John. We look forward to seeing you down there on Friday night, and best luck in your competition.
Thank you. I will see you, and thanks again for having me on the show, guys. Always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, man.
Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Rick, the total, I totally get the appeal of this event right now and why it's cut on the way it is and why there's so much interest. It's because every single gym has their guy or their couple of guys or a guy in each sort of general weight class, and they're like, oh man, that guy's awesome, that guy is the killer, that guy is the Gavin Tucker, that guy is the Kent Peters, that guy is the John Williams, that guy is the John Foster. But they're always just training in their gyms with the same guys for the most part. But in this competition, we get to see those guys thrown into the tank together to see who's going to who's going to rise to the top, and that is super, super, super cool.
Yeah, absolutely, and Foster just got my competitive juices going. You know that I'm up and I'm pacing the floor right now. I love it. I love the aspect of competition. You know that, and every one of these guys, they needed a place to showcase this, and I'm so excited that these guys have an opportunity to go out there and do their thing, and I know they're going to have so much support from their gyms and so much backing. I'm just excited about what this can become.
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying that the level of BJJ in the Maritimes is higher than it should be for the size of the place, but this is going to elevate it even more because, like Kyle Sanford said, that when you don't have a competition, I mean, you're in the gym and you're training, but you and I both know when you have a fight coming up, when you have a competition coming up, the level of training and the focus that you have and the gains that you make is just completely different.
Oh yeah. I'd like to fight right now, I'll be honest.
That's every day for you, Rick.
Yeah, I know. Let's get this thing wrapped up. It's going to be all night.
Okay, I gotta drop a little bit of knowledge before we take off. Number one, Skippy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I just got my hands on the hardware and the technology to live stream some content over the web. And I was wondering if there was any way that we could live stream the ECC 24 weigh-ins on the Global Combat Network. Done. Sweet. Awesome. Rick, maybe you and I could do play-by-play of the weigh-ins.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, man. I'd like that opportunity. I love being part of this.
As long as I have a channel
I'll try to hook that up.
As long as I have a channel open, and we're looking to blow it up to 40 channels. So right now we only have, I think, 6, but we're going to go to 40 this year. So no matter what, as long as I have a channel open, if you want to stream you washing your car, I will let you.
Well, we'll have something a little bit better than that for you.
Have you ever seen my car?
I
does have a kick-ass car.
76 Trans Am.
Yes, sir, baby.
Rick's car is the Metallica of cars.
Oh, so it's overpriced and doesn't run well?
You may be in Oregon, son, but I'll track you down.
Hey, look, I'll make you this deal. When you come here, I know a buddy who has the lunchtime BJJ championship. I will have me and you go up to his gym up at Team Quest in Portland, and we will grapple for the lunchtime championship belt.
Woo!
Okay, but I'm warning you, man. You know
Rick
my
called out
background.
twice in one show.
Yeah, you know my background. There might be some foreign objects or salt to the eyes. You got to be careful, man. I'm shady.
And you know my background. I might bring a shiv or a telephone book as armor.
Sounds like a plan. Well, anyway,
thanks a lot, guys.
What a great show. Yeah, and it was really exciting. I mean, to have this in our backyard and to give these guys the platform.
I mean, dude,
I'm really excited.
Rick, we didn't get to have a quarter of these guys on the air. I mean, Josh Presley wasn't on the show. Joel Jacquard, who we had on the show a while ago, didn't get a chance to get on the show. Obviously, we wanted to promote the local athletes, not the guys that they have coming in. But I mean, we could have had Jonathan Satava on the go, a bunch of the guys from Ontario and Montreal. I mean, this is super exciting. I'm really super excited to see where this is going to go. After this event, into the summer. I mean, it's going to be cool. Skip, what's the deal with the streaming of the Submission Series 902 event? How can people get access to that?
Anybody can go to the globalcombatnetwork.com or to MMAmadhouse.com. You can follow us on Facebook or Twitter. We have it everywhere. On the top of the page, right underneath the huge logo, you're going to see our lineup of live streams for this month, and right there you'll see the beautiful Submission Series 902 logo. You just click on that and it's going to open up. You're going to see the old school rainbow broadcast screen right now because obviously it's not live, but there'll be hyperlinks to their Facebook and Instagram and website right there as well, and plenty of links for you guys to share it on every social media platform. So please feel free to join us. This is completely free. This is to show the support for the community of BJJ. So everybody share it, join in.
Awesome.
Thank you for all your support, Skip. These guys all down here appreciate it.
No problem. And the fight cards on there, guys, as well, so you guys can see who is all going at it.
Well, Rick, I'll touch base with you. I'll touch base with you this week. We'll work out our details for pickup on Friday, and it's going to be a super cool night.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. So sign us out of here.
As always, that's enough BS for one night.
And remember to wear your sunscreen.
Welcome to the BS Show. Are you ready to shoot the... The BS Show would like to thank their sponsors. Jack Cameron, accredited mortgage professional. Jack can show you the way home. Graco Impact Sports, providing top quality combat sport equipment tested and used by all levels of athletes. Dominate your world. RepoSales.ca, specializing in vehicle and equipment recovery, liquidation, and sales. Hemmings House Pictures, the global movement media makers, helping tell your brand story to the world and accelerate the momentum of your movement. Farm Box Films, capturing stories the way you want to remember them.